to the show. This is The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zamet. Let's get on with the show with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. Okay. I should start off this time by saying, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, The Force Always, I'm here 3-4 times a week. Subscribe to The Force Always, and you'll see me with the news, views, reviews, and interviews. Anyway, let's start off with the news. There is another real exciting fan film online. Now, I would really push to go and see it ASAP. I've got a feeling this may be brought down as it's, does take away a lot of copyright, from the actual actors and Disney and stuff like that. It's called Return of the Jedi Epilogue. Return of the Jedi Epilogue. It's 1 hour's worth. This is why I'm saying to really go and see this one. The other ones are great. Let me tell you, all these ones I've given 11 out of 10 and stuff like that have been great. This one here, you should go and see because it's an hour's worth and it's quite a watch. And I will be giving a review of that later in the show. So stick around for that. It's called Return of the Jedi Epilogue. That is on YouTube. Check that one out. To more news, the Maul Shadow Lord show that is coming out in less than 3 weeks, I think it is. The exact time of when it's actually releasing, especially in my city, Melbourne, Australia, is not really known. But it is actually going to be on it's a Sunday or a Monday, which is, a little bit different to the norm on Disney because it was usually Wednesdays these things come around. And so what the exact time is, I'm unsure. What, exact midnight dropping of this, of the whole world is going to be, I don't know. I've been sort of trying to look it up. I cannot find that information as yet, but it is definitely April 6th. Less than 3 weeks away, but the list of episodes have dropped, and so really the finale, they're calling the last episode, I think it's episode 10, the finale is going to be on May the 4th, which is May the 4th be with you, which is sort of interesting because usually they use that day to promote something that's coming, but obviously they're doing this to have a finale and sort of collaboration, which may mean on May the 4th we get something else of a surprise, which I think will be something to do with Ahsoka or maybe Starfighter or something like that. They're obviously making room on May the 4th for something else. More Shadow Lord would have come to an end. And part of the particular list of episodes you can see, one of them is called The Creeping Fear, which is, I think, is episode 8, The Creeping Fear. I will absolutely won't put money on this, but because I refuse to bet. But The Creeping Fear is, I believe, going to be Darth Vader versus Maul. This will be a confrontation, really interesting because both of the characters actually live past this episode in the Star Wars timeline. So what's going to happen, I don't know. It could be a big scramble. It could be a real dogfight. I think it's going to be epic, whatever they choose to do. I think it's going to be, so The Creeping Fear episode and Maul Shadow Lord, I think that's the one to look out for. All of them, I think, will be consistent, but that's the one I think people will be talking about because I believe it's going to be something to do with Darth Vader and Maul himself. Just as a fun fact, which I did not know, I discovered this from another YouTuber. The Creeping Fear was the working title for Revenge of the Sith, which is Episode 3. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was going to be called The Creeping Fear. In my humble opinion, I'm glad they stuck with Revenge of the Sith. I think The Creeping Fear would have been just a bit too broad It really doesn't rhyme, as Star Wars, even titles do rhyme to a certain degree. Besides Episode 8, The Last Jedi, it's the only oddball out. Some people agree with that, the oddball. Not to say that Last Jedi was bad, but I think personally the title in that particular episode was the non-rhyming one. I think it was just, using a word of Star Wars Jedi again. But anyway, let's go back to the program here. The Creeping Fear was meant to be the title for Revenge of the Sith, and I'm glad they went with Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. At that time, my internet availability was not always there, so I didn't know all these rumors and stuff like that at that time. I did have access to internet, but more on an outside from home sort of way at that point. Anyway, so that is the news for this time around. Let's get into story ideas, which I call views. Views is my story ideas. I accept the story of Star Wars for what it is, whether it's good or bad, because I still enjoy Star Wars. I still love it. Anyway, let's get into my story ideas. This one will be about Darth Vader versus Maul, as I just mentioned in the actual news. Should this happen? Well, I think personally, it is in a time period that does make sense. But it also makes dollars because it will really feed the hardcore fans an event, something to sort of see and hear and feel and know and stuff like that. I think it's just one of those things that is almost a nostalgia that's not nostalgia, that should go ahead and to see how that battle turns out. In fact, because we don't know one of them win because of this story timeline in Star Wars, it will be interesting. But personally, I think it's a bit of a giving to the fans sort of event. But at the same time, there is relevancy to the story in the story timeline, because at that point, Maul had, relived his life. He was out there. He had knowledge of what was going to happen, and then Darth Vader was, out there on the prowl. And any stop to the Empire or Darth Vader or the Emperor even, which is Maul's old master, would have been catastrophic for Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, the Empire, all that stuff. So it's relevant, but I do think it's a little bit of a fan sort of more like giving to the fans type of thing, which I'm for. I think it's good. Would I do it? I think I would actually do it. Just thinking about it right now, I think I'm just spontaneously thought, would I do it? I think I would. But I am, once again, going to say that I'm about the story moving forward. I'd be much excited in the story moving forward rather than keep going back all the time and revisiting characters and stuff like that. I do enjoy that, though. That is the story of Star Wars. That's what it's built on. But yeah, so that's my story idea. Would I have Darth Vader versus Maul? And I would say yes. What that would entail, I just would have it to be a real stretched out, epic battle from the start to the end of the episode, because this will be the point of just no one wins. It's just got to be almost the same level of intensity as Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan, or technically Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan on Mustafar in Episode 3. Because technically Anakin, even though he was human, he was known as Lord Vader, Darth Vader at that point. Anyway, so that's my story idea. Let's get into reviews. Reviews is going to be about a fan film called Return of the Jedi Epilogue. This is a more than 1 hour viewing. It's about 1 hour 6 minutes, 1 hour 7 minutes. This is where I would say that Return of the Jedi Epilogue, The Creeping Fear, And I mean the creeping fear in this instance, sort of relating to the more sort of episode, but going on its own merit in this description of what I've called this particular episode, is that this is got to be a fear for the movie company's executives, because this is so well done. It's amazing. Now, there is little bits in this particular film, I will say, that is not exactly what I would have done. For example, the choice of having a Wookiee in a Jedi robe, but it did make sense of respect to the Wookiee, knowing that Jedi was once in that planet. That's the relevancy of that point without giving too much away about the story. And also, I thought some of the spaceships that the pirates had at the start of the film were a little bit Star Trek-y, a little bit Thunderbirds, but the visual finish of the mastering, let's call it, the visual look to the film, not the sets, not the actors, the actual the vision, the actual it's sort of meant to look a bit old, a bit aged. That sort of the mastering of effect, I would say, or an effect, whatever you want to call it. It really did work, because it sort of felt like it was in 1983, where this is sort of set in that just after Return of the Jedi. I thought the story itself, even though it was a bit dragged out, it still kept me captivated. And the way the story evolved and ended with Mara, that's all I'm going to say, Mara, was a great finishing touch. I tell you, watch this film. It's not blow away material like the most epic thing ever, but I am going to give it a 10 out of 10. I tell you, the creeping fear for the movie companies out there with films like this must be a burden to these people. But me as a fan, enjoying this online is great. And the other part of the creeping fear to these type of films being online, even though you don't get to see in the cinema, which I most prefer, is that it really takes people away from the cinema, enjoying it in their own home, which is sort of like, economically bad for the movie industry, because if you keep watching things at home, it's not going to pay off or be as good as what you get at the cinema, because of the amount of money that you can make in a cinema versus streaming is massive difference. But, that's the economic side of things. I personally like going to cinema because I love the experience, the atmosphere, the sound size, the visual look, there's everything. I love that. The only thing maybe in the cinema I can't stand every so often is just the crackling of bloody, chips, or sometimes, people coming in late or whatever. But that's just a little thing. But still, it's the greatest place to be. Anyway, so 10 out of 10 for Return of the Jedi Epilogue. From the start to the finish, every aspect was great. It was just great. Watch that as soon as you can before it possibly gets taken offline. Anyway, that's my review for this time around. Woo! Anyway, let's get into the interviews. Interviews is usually the comments I get in my comment section. You can send in a comment that is question-based or trivia-based, or just leaving a comment, a statement or whatever it is. In the last particular video I did, which this will be the last particular video I do until the next one, and our usual favourite, what's his name? Michael from Werribee South. It's a part of Melbourne, Werribee South. Michael's a part of Melbourne. Anyway, so let's get into his questions. Now, as Michael does, because I know Michael personally. Got a sip on coffee before I get this one. He leaves certain parts of a question out to know what he's talking about. But I've got a feeling I know what he's talking about. For example, the first question he's got is, what are the must-do activities? To what? I'm guessing Star Wars Celebration that's coming in LA next year, 2027. What are the must-do activities? I'm just guessing. I'm going to guess. I'm going to put myself out there guessing what he's asking about. But if you're going to send me a question, just, tell me what you're actually talking about. I can, then understand you and, pay respect to your question as best I can. Anyway, so what are the must-do activities? Star Wars Celebration is definitely the first two panels, the first two big panels, which is the first two mornings of the first 2 days in Star Wars Celebration, usually about 11 a.m. That's one of the activities if you can get in. It's a real hard one to get into if you didn't get a pick in the reservation. You have to line up in a standby line, which I have done before. If you've seen my previous videos, especially in Japan, I was the only one there. I think Japan is different to LA. LA, and being the 50th anniversary, is going to be intense. If you're going to line up for the first two panels for that one, I'm telling you, really think ahead. But yeah, so the two first panels are the greatest. And going to any other panels are great too. Like in Japan and even the other ones, I'd go to the ILM panel where you actually have ILM greats there discussing, talking about things. It's so good. Even the cosplay panel there, just to see what's happening there, that's great. The panels generally is why you go to the Star Wars Celebration, but also the showroom floor. It's absolutely amazing. You can get anything and everything on this showroom floor. The activities there, the atmosphere, the fans, the cosplay, what you can buy. Definitely, it's like a shopping mall, but pure Star Wars. I mean, there might be some oddball things you can get there, but it's so great. The only area that I'll say that is overrated, but still there are things in there that is okay, but the line to get in there is ridiculously overrated. It's the Star Wars shop. So Star Wars have their own shop, and then you've got the Star Wars shopping mall, let's call it. The shopping mall, to me, outweighs the shop big time. But if you can get yourself into the Star Wars Celebration shop, it's great. You get some if you can get there early, it's great. But then that will cross out getting into a panel, because you can't do two things at once, especially at Star Wars Celebration. You're going to have to choose one or the other. And believe me, you'll be lining up for a long time, not a couple of hours, more than that. Anyway, so the must-do activities is the Star Wars showroom floor, which is the shopping mall, if you were to say, and definitely the first two panels. Day 1, Day 2. Opening panels, the big ones. They are the must-do activities. Everything else comes hand-in-hand greatness, but those are the big highlights. Anyway, the next question from Michael from Werribee South that leaves out what he's talking about, but I will guess what he's talking about. How does the ticketing process work for conventions, for a convention starters? Well, you buy them online. It's the way of the world. You buy everything online, technically, these days. So yeah, how does it work? You just wait for an announcement through email. Sign yourself up to the Star Wars Celebration newsletter, which should be able. You should be able to get a link of some sort or an address on StarWars.com and sign up for that. They'll let you know when the tickets go on sale, and when the tickets go on sale, you'll have to line up to go online. I'm talking like, hours, refresh, get those, whatever you want to, get those tickets. Look, the hardest tickets to get is the Jedi Master tickets. It gives you so much goodies and access to the actual event. It's amazing. But they are the sought after tickets. Excuse me. I think oh, bless me. In the name of the Force. Anyway, yeah, so basically it'd be online. That's how you get the tickets. And personally, if you miss out on the 4 or 5 day, combined pass, which saves you money, you just go for the single day passes. You get 4 different tickets. To me, that's the best one to get. Anyway, but I'm wishing to the Force God that I get a Jedi Master ticket. I'll give it a shot. The next question from Michael from Werribee South is, when do tickets go on sale for Los Angeles convention? that Star Wars Celebration is saying. Well, that will be announced online via and even either on StarWars.com or through the newsletter. Get yourself involved in that, and that will be good. The next question is, what unit of measure, and now this gets into actual questions about Star Wars itself, which is great. What unit of measure does Han Solo use to describe the Kessel Run? Parsecs. That's a non-Google for me. Parsecs is the answer. Just to move on now. Now, Michael now is going back to what he was asking before about Star Wars Celebration, not mentioning what he's talking about, but, he gets excited, Michael does. Is one day enough to see everything? He's talking about Star Wars Celebration. I will say absolutely not. I, in fact, met some Australians at the Japanese Star Wars Celebration who had sort of cosplayed, and I asked them some questions, just sort of off the record type of thing, and they said they were there for like that day and that's it. And I said, oh my God, this is just not enough time. It's way too little. I mean, all you'll get to do is maybe see a small panel, see the showroom floor, maybe get into line up the one of the big shops there, like Hot Toys it was massive lines, sold out every day. It was a big shop. It was still had massive lines. One day is not enough. If it only is one day you can still get the vibe of what's going on, but you will leave like you haven't done enough. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. Anyway, so then the next question: can you name a few hotels close to LA Convention Center? He spelled that wrong, but anyway, LA Convention Center. Well, really, the Convention Center is right near what I know as the Staples Center, which is the basketball stadium. It's also for concerts. I saw Stevie Wonder there one time. Yeah, look, the actual hotels, you're just going to have to do a search. Say within the year of the date it comes out, which is April. I'd start looking at the hotels in that area. Before, even if the tickets haven't gone on sale yet, I'd start doing that to get yourself a good reservation for a close hotel. Closer the better, but you will be at times not sleeping in that hotel, because you'll be lining up all night to get into the panels, especially the first two panels of the first 2 days. You'll be outside waiting in line all night. I'll tell you this. You will have a hotel going, man, I wish I was at a hotel, but you will not be able to do that. I'll tell you right now. But keep your hotel reserved, because if all hell breaks loose with yourself, bodily functions, you got a hotel. But yeah, so just, it's in the main part of downtown LA. I definitely would go there. Probably stay away from near the Hollywood Boulevard area, because that's a bit of a distance, especially with the LA highways, freeways there. It's insanity traffic. Insanity. You will take more than an hour to get to one part to that part, which technically, if you were to drive it with no traffic, it'd probably take you 20 minutes, but it will take you more than an hour in the LA traffic. It's insane. Anyway, the next question from Michael from Wherever South is Imperial Logistics. The Empire Strikes Back. Which two Imperial officers are seen being choked to death on screen by Darth Vader? Well, one I know automatically, Captain Needa. That's my sort of Darth Vader impression, which is very bad. But anyway, Captain Needa was one. And the other guy, which is the guy that before him, his name was, I think, Admiral Ozzel. And he was a little bit ignorant. And it was both in Empire Strikes Back. He got choked. Sorry, Captain Needa got choked. I think it was Empire Strikes Back, yeah, but it was he lost the Millennium Falcon, and with the Needa was his ability to get out of hyperspace too close, and the rebels picked up on it, and Darth Vader didn't like it. Anyway, so the next and I think final question for Michael from Where We South. Secret inspiration. Which real life animal was George Lucas's pet that inspired the creation of Chewbacca? Well, this is a non-Google again out there. It was his dog. He had a husky. It was a dog, husky, and he just liked the idea of this furry companion being with Han Solo, like his dog, and sort of drew a lot of inspiration from that. I'm sure the dog, unfortunately, has passed on. It is in doggy heaven right now. But he was the inspiration for Chewbacca. And that's what George Lucas had said many times in many interviews about Chewbacca. Anyway, but as a fun fact, Chewbacca in the beginning was not a furry alien, was not a furry creature, was actually an alien with big ears. In fact, that alien has now reappeared as another alien we know as Zeb in Rebels and in Ahsoka and in the Mandalorian Grogu. You'll see him. I think he's purple faced. He's got big ears. He's a real fun character. Zeb. That look of that character was meant to be Chewbacca. Way back in the day of 1977. It was shelved because Chewbacca became a furry creature instead. Anyway, so that is the show for this time around. Again, subscribe to the channel. The Force Always. I'm here 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah, please like and share this video if you like and want to share it. And please send in your comments. And that's either questions or opinions or anything deemed appropriate for the channel. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.